Hello, my crafty friends. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Linda Edwards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I am going to show you how to make this cute card with the Sunrise Sailing stamp set. We're actually making this in my class tomorrow, so I'm going to practice making it one more time so that I remember how to teach it. And you get to come on along with me and make this card together. So here are the measurements. So the basic measurements of the card, or basic, this is Pretty Peacock, and it is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then it's very simple, just 2 pieces of basic white cardstock, and they are both 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then there's a little scrap paper. So it's minimal supplies. But you do need this Sunrise Sailing bundle. So this is the stamp set. We're going to use the dies. There we go. There's a lot of fun dies in here. This die coordinates with the embossing folder. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to put that together and how to use that. And then we are actually going to use die from the Textured Notes dies. That's this set. We're using the smallest one here. But of course, you can use whatever you have on hand for it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is, because I'm going to do some die cutting to start with, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my little sentiment so then I can die cut that. So I've just got this piece of basic white. It's a scrap. You just want to make sure it's big enough so that your die will fit. And I'm using Crumb Cake ink, and Ahoy is my sentiment. I like this because you could basically do anything with it, right? I mean, you could leave your card, inside of your card, blank, or you could add a sentiment that coordinates with the Ahoy. So this die is a little bit long for what I need, but I thought, well, you have 2 options. You can just cut it off a little shorter, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to add some rope to it, kind of with our theme. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that when I die cut that, it's over to the right so that I have room to add some rope to the left. So I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine, and it's a little tight here, but I think that you will still be able to see what I'm doing. So the first one, I'm going to just go ahead and cut that. As I said, you want to make sure that it's positioned to the right of the cutting edge, and just line that up and run that through the die cutting machine. So as you can see, my plates are very well loved. They get a lot of use, but they still work perfectly. And there we go. There's my sentiment. I think that turned out just the way I wanted it. So let's set that aside. Now this is the part that's a little bit, a little bit tricky. If you've never used a hybrid embossing folder, it's got the die that comes with it, okay? So we're gonna emboss and cut at the same time. So I'm gonna bring one of those pieces of basic white. Remember that was 5 1/4 by 4. Let me actually, I have to move that out of the way. I think you'll be able to see better if I do it this way. So this die fits right in the embossing folder, okay? And the cutting side is going to be up. So what I'm going to do is, this is the front of the embossing folder with the words Stampin' Up! On it. I'm layering, kind of fitting that die in there. You'll see it just kind of nestles right in there. So I just kind of put it there. I could put a piece of tape on it, but it really sits there very nicely. If you're unsure, go ahead and tape it down. I'm going to lay this piece right on top of it. I know that I want the tops of the clouds. I don't know how well you can see that. I think you can see that. The tops of the clouds, I want that. I don't want to cut them off. I want them on my paper. I want my sailboat pretty well centered. So I'm going to eyeball that, lay that on there. just like that. I'm just kind of lining up so that the top of the cardstock is parallel with the top of the embossing folder. I'm going to slide that over because now I have to, right? So I just closed it. I'm going to slide it over because I have to bring up my cutting machine. And this is a 3D embossing folder. So we know we need our base plate. I am going to turn this over. I'm going to put the folded edge on the cutting surface. And then I'm bringing in plate 4 to run this through the machine. And that's it. That's all there is to it. All right, let's take this off. And see how I did. Yay! All right, so put this aside. Okay, so I got the sailboat. It's got the embossed side up. Also the embossed side here. Now we're going to do some blending to get some color on there. So if you wanted a monochromatic card, you could certainly just do it as is, but I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of coloring and blending. So I'm going to bring in some scrap paper, and then I'm going to bring in, I think I'm going to start with the yellow. So I've got Daffodil Delight. I'm going to use Pretty Peacock and Daffodil Delight on this card to do some blending. And I think I'm going to start with the lighter color. Go ahead and swirl that in there. Tap it off a little bit. See how it's got kind of, I don't know, some extra ink in there. And then I just want it to kind of look like this is a sunrise coming from behind the sailboat. There we go. It's hard for me to talk when I'm when I'm doing this coloring. I just discovered that. I don't know. I'm having a hard time, but it's okay. You got the idea. So go ahead and just do a little bit of the sunrise there and a little bit shining on the water down below. All right. I think that's really all I need there. Be a little sun shining on those clouds. Okay, so that's the Daffodil Delight. I'm going to set that one aside, and now I'm going to come in with the Pretty Peacock. Now the Pretty Peacock is a dark color, so I for sure want to have a really light touch with this. I'm trying to just blend the highlights of those waves. Now, of course, if it goes a little bit below, it doesn't matter, right? Actually, the highlights are, technically, they're white, aren't they? And then the background is blue, if you look at Whitecaps. But we're gonna take a little artistic license here and go ahead. And I find it easiest to turn my card rather than kind of turning my wrist as I color. So you just keep going until it's the color that you want. You can have it darker or lighter. I'm going to do this one a little bit lighter just so that you can see both to help you decide maybe what you want to do on your own card. And I do want a little bit of that blue kind of together with the yellow up here. So there, a little bit there. And then I'm going to also do some at the top with the clouds in the sky. And again, the sky is normally got some blue in it. So I'm taking a little bit of artistic license, but I think that's just having some fun with that, right? So you can, again, you can certainly get some blue background as well. There we go. a little bit of light blue there on the actual background and on the edges. So I don't know if you can see, there are a couple of little birds here. I'm actually going to use something else for the birds. So the fact that I got a little blue on them doesn't really matter. All right, so that's the front of my card. I am going to bring in you can use the black Stampin' Right marker or a black Sharpie. I'm gonna just go ahead. I've got this black Sharpie here that I keep in my stash. Let's see if I can do it with this one. Well, now my black Sharpie's not working. All right, let me grab a black marker. So this is a blend. Just got a blend. You can also use a Stampin' Right marker, and I'm just gonna very lightly color. I'm just going over the raised part of the bird. That's okay. All right. And then there is a bird stamp as well. So I'm going to use a little bit of Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp one more bird over here on the right. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to color my sailboat. So, you know, I cut out that sailboat. So now I'm going to do some coloring on him, and I'm going to use the blends for that. I'm using crumb cake. I've got light and dark crumb cake. So I'm going to go ahead and outline. So I've got a couple of options. There is a stamp, but I don't want to stamp the whole thing. I just want to use the raised parts to be stamped. I don't want the whole thing stamped. So I'm just bringing my blend, and I'm resting my hand on the table so I can be a little more precise. I tried doing this stamping at first. It was really hard to get it all lined up with the die, not so much with the die, but with the embossing folder. So I gave up. I decided I didn't want to do it that way. So I'm just going on, again, I'm just going on these raised parts, and then I'm going to just do an outline. And then I'm going to come in and fill it in with the light blend. Okay, just to give the hull of the ship a little color. So I'm going to come in here and fill it in with the blend. So as I said, there is a stamp where you could stamp this, so that's an option for you as well. You just have to decide what works best for you. So if you don't have the blends, you can do that. The other thing you can do, you know, if you don't have the blends but you have the markers, is you can, I'm kind of blurring these a little bit, you can use the blender pen and the ink, not the markers. If you don't have the markers or the blends, you can use your classic ink, just your ink pad and a blender pen, and get pretty good results. It's not as good as the blends, but in a pinch, it's a good substitute. All right, there we go. Oh, wait, I forgot. This one should come across here. I'm gonna come back with the dark one more time. No, you know what? I think I'm gonna just leave it like that. Okay. So, and then we're gonna stamp the inside. So I'll set that aside, and the envelope. So now I am gonna bring in the stamp that's got the whole sailboat stamp. And it's a pretty big stamp, so I'm gonna apply my ink to the stamp. And I'm gonna just offset this a little bit, almost, on the inside of the card. Okay, that ink pad's a little juicy. So what I'm gonna do, I don't know, can you see it's kind of blotchy? So I'm gonna go over that a little bit with the blend, just to smooth it out a little bit. And you might wanna wait, because sometimes it will smooth out on its own. I just refilled my ink, so I think it's a little juicy. Okay, there, smooth it out a little bit. And then do the same thing. Well, let's see, this is a soft pad. It's actually like a mouse pad. But let's bring in the Stampin' Pierce mat and see if that makes a difference, because I'm gonna ink that up again on the envelope. So, and we'll try it this way and see if that matters. I don't think it's gonna matter. Yeah, maybe a little bit better. Maybe my surface wasn't quite cushy enough. So we'll go ahead and do this. I'm gonna take it a little bit offset. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So if you've got a Stampin' Pierce mat, go ahead and use that. And then I'm gonna bring in my Pretty Peacock ink, and my sentiment could either be congratulations, or there's Happy Retirement is in this cute little set, as is You Deserve the Best. But I may leave the sentiment off for right now and add it later. I do that a lot when I'm making cards, so that I have the, oh look, I got ink on there. I'm gonna clean that off before I stamp and get it all over everything. There's my ink. Let's clean that off. The only problem with a big ink block sometimes is it gets ink all over. All right, let's try that again. There we go. All right, so gently, make sure I don't rock it. Okay, and then I also want to stamp it off lightly. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put that right there. There we go. I just wanted a little light color there. So, put that aside. And as I said, I'll add the sentiment later when I decide how I want to, who I want to give this to. So now we're ready to assemble. So card base, bring that in, make sure I burnish it so it lays nice and flat. I'm gonna put the inside or the outside here, and I am just going to attach that directly to the front of the card with liquid glue, or if you are a, snail, whatever your preferred adhesive is. I do want to make sure that I get a little bit of glue here and here so that those ends stay down. And I like liquid glue with this particular embossing folder because it is so bumpy. All right, so that's just gonna lay flat right there. And I'm gonna bring in my dimensionals, and I'm gonna raise up this. Now, of course, I could just inset it right there. Whoops, look at that, see? That. Make sure that stays right there. But I'm gonna offset it a little bit so it looks like there's a shadow behind it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some, let's see, let's also get some smaller pieces for down here. So it gives it look it's kind of a fun shadow look. And that will go there. And Another one. These are the mini dimensionals, but these little ends are actually quite long. So it works really well. I'll do one more. I don't like to throw anything away if it can be used. And I do recycle too. I keep a paper bag in my studio so that I can recycle as much of the leftover cardstock and paper as possible. We don't have curbside cycling here in my community, but my husband takes everything to the recycle center once a week for us. So I don't feel so bad about wasting. I'm not wasting paper. Okay, so here I want it to be a little bit high and a little bit to the right. So you'll see kind of the shadow along the sides. You'll see that blue kind of peeking out a little bit. So I'm going to do the top first, and then I can make sure that the bottom. I think that's kind of fun and easy to do. All right, so my sentiment now is also going to be raised, and I'm going to take this linen thread. This is one of my favorites. I'm going to just put a little bit of snail on the back of this to hold it, and it'll, you know, it's kind of nautical, right? There we go. Put a little bit of snail there, and I am just going to wrap this around. You could make a knot out of it. You could braid it. I thought about doing that, maybe braiding it, but I don't know, that's a lot of work. I decided against that. And I am going to put a dimensional on top of it because I'm going to raise the whole thing up, so I'm not too concerned. But there we go. All right, that's good. Cut it, bring in a dimensional, hold it in place. Another one there. And this could easily be a nice masculine card, which, you know, can be difficult. I've got 3 sons, so I like having some masculine cards. Again, I'm going to wait to attach that until I decide what I'm going to use the card for. And I am going to bring in one more little bling. So I've got these, aren't these beautiful? I just love the colors of these. The Shades of Green hexagons. It actually comes with that turtle suite. And I love the colors. So I decided to go ahead and use some of these. So let's see. I think I'm going to do the light blue today. So let's see. Maybe there, and maybe a small one over there. And one more right there. Oh, I need one over here. I feel like it's out of balance. What do you think? There. And one more. Whoops. These are really fun. Fun shape. They're like, they're 3-dimensional. And I mean, obviously they're raised, but there's like a raised part and then it dips in the center. I don't know how to describe it, but really cool. Anyway, so that's that one. Let me show you my original. Same thing. Now this, you can kind of see I kind of smudged. So that was how I put those there first because I had that smudge, so I had to hide it, right? You can do, embellishments are great that way. But I like the way it turned out. I like the symmetry of it. So now I did the lighter blue. I like those too. I don't know. Do you have a preference? I think anybody would be happy to receive this card, either one. They'll certainly not know the difference. Thanks for joining me today. If you like what you see, if you give me a thumbs up, I sure appreciate it. It helps others to find me. And if you'd like to see more of the cards that I share on my YouTube or Facebook channel, go ahead and follow me, and you will be notified when I release a new video. And if you are ever in the Greensboro area, I would love to have you see you in person at one of my card classes. I do card classes once a month. And I do those in person, and then every other month I create a created home tutorial so that you can create cards in the pleasure, the comfort of your own home. And if you want more information about any of that, you can find that. You can join my newsletter or my Facebook page. I post those things on Facebook as well, but mostly it's in my newsletter. So Linda at craftyherondesigns.com. You can shoot me an email and I'll add you to my newsletter, or visit me, send me a message, or visit me online. Thank you very much. I appreciate you spending some time with me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.